Our first question will be for Mr. Perez, Mr. King, and Mr. Gansler. I'll read it now. Teachers are leaving the workforce in droves after what many have described as their most difficult year teaching yet. How will you work with MSDE and local districts to retain teachers in the workforce? What else can be done to improve teacher working conditions? Mr. Perez, we'll start with you.
That's the ultimate question. Before the pandemic, 42% of teachers were leaving within the first 5 years. Now it's far worse. We have teachers 20 years experience saying, I'm done. And so this is a really, really, really fundamental issue that we have to address. We have to make sure we're paying people and paying them well, because they're saying, you know, the money isn't worth the headache that I'm enduring. We have to, in response to a prior question, I mentioned we have to build a mental health infrastructure within all of the schools to address the fact that this pandemic has wreaked havoc on families, communities. And if we don't have that mental health infrastructure in place, we are not going to be able to fully address the issue. We also need to make sure that, you know, we have a very significant mismatch between the racial demographic profile of our educators and the racial demographic profile of our students. And, you know, that's something that my running mate, Shannon Sneed, is going to be working on with me. She went to UMES undergrad. She got her graduate degree at Morgan, and she taught at Coppin. And these are issues that we have to work on front and center. We need more community schools where we have holistic approaches to learning and addressing all of the students' needs. You know, my kids' elementary school had a school-based health clinic there. That was really, really important. And I think when we allow these localized interventions so that we can address specific issues in specific areas, we can really help change the culture. Because right now, we got to make sure we don't call our teachers union thugs. That's what this governor did. They're not thugs, they're heroes. And we should treat them as such. And as your governor, I will do exactly that.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Mr. King, on to you.
Look, I think it's crucial that we continue to attract and retain a diverse, well-prepared teacher workforce. To get there, we definitely have to raise pay. We need to raise starting salaries. I want to accelerate that to $60,000 by 2023. We got to raise pay across the board, but we really have to address some of the working conditions issues that make it just difficult for people to stay in the classroom. I hear this frustration from teachers all the time. If you're in your classroom in a hat and gloves in the winter because the heat doesn't work, or your school shuts down because it's too hot and there's no air conditioning, that's a working condition issue. And the state has a responsibility. That wouldn't happen in Potomac, but it happens in Baltimore. The state needs to act on that and address those capital deficiencies. It's a working condition issue when there's not enough school counselors in a building. I was talking to a teacher in Prince George's County, a school counselor in Prince George's County, who has 700 families that she's supposed to support single-handedly. That's a working condition issue for her, but it's also a working condition issue for all the other teachers in that building who feel like they can't refer students who need support and families who need support because there isn't adequate investment. So we need to invest in school counselors and mental health services. We need to make sure that we raise pay for paraprofessionals and education support professionals, because everyone who works in schools knows those folks help make the school run. And if we lose those folks because they can't afford to continue to stay in education, schools can't function. So we need to make that investment. We need to make sure that there are adequate supports for kids and families after school, summer. And teachers carry the pain of seeing their students struggling and their students' families struggling. And community schools that are part of the blueprint will help to address that, but we have to invest in the programs, because you have a community schools coordinator, but they have to have programs that they can partner with, and those programs need resources.
And I do apologize. I have to go after this question, but I do look forward to following up with you. And I really just value all of you being here and being online, because Baltimore needs a governor. Baltimore needs a governor that cares about this city, that loves this city, and wants to work with the people here that that share that belief that Baltimore can and should realize its promise, and we can work together to do that. school and education is power. So we need to make sure that our teachers are paid. I really don't have much to add to my colleagues who have both thought this through deeply, which is we need to make sure we pay our teachers. We need to make sure they're working in facilities that are fit for Baltimore City and Potomac and Caves Valley and wherever else you want to be, and to make sure that those teachers are safe and that they want to be there because they don't feel like they're going to get involved in a brawl, a fight, shot, and they want to feel safe while in the school and on their way to school. They also need to make sure, we also have to encourage weaning ourselves from standardized tests. Teachers don't need to be teaching to standardized tests. Every one of us older folk up here at least, had a teacher or many teachers that touched us, met us where we were, and really got to our minds and helped us learn not just to take a test, but to want to be educated, to want to read, to see life as a pursuit of learning. And I think that is going to be critical as well. The mental health component, as I mentioned, is going to be critically important both for teachers and for students, to make sure that people feel comfortable and are safe in their schools. And diversity is critical. When I was Attorney General, I wrote a report that I shared with all the other attorneys general in the country regarding diversity in higher education. We need to make sure that happens K through 12 as well. Thank you.